lot of people keep on asking, what is the right time to
Yeah.
get married? We got married, you got married in your 20s, we got married in our 20s, but everyone wants to have the perfect
Yes.
timing, or the perfect, everything has to be perfect, the monies, the house, the car and everything. What is the right time for somebody to get married? Do you need to have everything ready? Or maybe we can say, what are some of the basic things that somebody needs to have? That is one. The second question would be that you are having this person that is already happening on the lady's part, but then they do not have in their space or their current dwelling, or whether at the workplace or church, like we are talking about Bread of Life, there's no one that is seemingly to be the right suitor or match. How do they position themselves?
Yes, yes. I'll let you start first.
Surely.
You know?
So a couple of thoughts in terms of like the right time. So for me, the way I usually answer that question about the right time is there is no one fixed right time, like one kind of like one size fits all. It's definitely case by case. But there are a couple of indicators that you can look out for. So I always encourage people to have like negotiables and non-negotiables, okay, at a personal level. So we all have like our ideal partner, and then we also have like our own journey that we are going through.
Sure.
Okay, so for example, if you just came out of another relationship, no matter how good looking, how best fitting this individual is, like you want to slam the brakes. Okay, you want to slam the brakes. You want to monitor how you are navigating that space, because first and foremost, you've just come out of a relationship, especially if it ended badly, if it was a heartbreak. A lot of things are going on the inside of you that have left you vulnerable.
Sure.
Okay, vulnerable for you not to be able to make a very sober decision.
Sure.
Meaning that you are a danger to yourself. In that space, you're in a sense, you're like a patient that needs attention. Okay, so you are also a danger to the other individual. Okay, because even the decisions that you're going to make, by the time you sober up and you're healed, you realize, oh snap, I actually wasn't supposed to head this direction. And we've heard countless testimonies of people talking about, rebound relationships. Just because this person is available and they're talking to you a certain way. And the flip side of that is that there are also people who prey on people that are in that kind of vulnerable state. So, you don't want to be found wanting. So already an indicator like that tells you to say, wisdom says, I need to heal, like my wife was saying. Okay, wisdom says, whatever decisions that I'm making in this particular season that I'm in will require godly counsel. Scripture says, in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. So that safety is safety for your soul, safety for your well-being, safety for the relationship journey that you want to start taking with that particular individual. So, so that's one indicator. Then there's also an aspect of character issues, like my wife was mentioning. If you are in a space where you are really struggling with stuff, let's say for example, like you are struggling with lust, like you are really in trouble, like you're in a space where like you really need to figure things out and get yourself sorted. The last thing that you want is to get into a relationship with a girl who's probably also equally struggling with something similar, because what is bound to happen will happen. You understand what I mean? So those are things that sometimes people overlook because of circumstances, where the wind is blowing. And we need to, as believers, we need to be very, very sensitive. And, this may sound deep, but I hope people can get it. But it's in those seasons that you really need to think about your spiritual well-being. Because if you don't prioritize that, you will prioritize the relationship over your spiritual well-being.
Sure.
And I know enough relationships that have drawn people away from the presence of God. you get into this relationship, your fire just goes out.
Yeah, sure.
Why? Because you've created an environment for sin, basically.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you're in this space where you're not able to make sober decisions, primarily because you have all these struggles that you haven't dealt with.
Yeah.
And so you've created this environment where now it's just the two of you trying to now manage yourselves.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Right.
So already that's a bad indicator. So I hope that whoever is watching or listening is kind of getting this.
Please look at them.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's not necessarily about just the time. What are the indicators? What are the critical factors in that particular season that you're in? Then there are, you know, like especially the younger folk who are in a space where like they're really just trying to figure themselves out. Okay, we mature very differently. Men, women, you know, males, females mature very differently at different times. And sometimes you find that there are other people, maybe by way of circumstances of life, mature quite faster than others. Others, maybe because they've sat under someone, they've been trained, they've been coached, they've been mentored, mature faster than others. There are people that are in a space where they literally, very honestly, haven't really figured anything out about themselves. Now, imagine this is a pretty young girl or, you know, a beefcake looking type guy.
Beefcake.
You know,
That's
and
G. Yeah.
you know, and he's getting the attention of the girls.
Yeah.
You know, or he wants the attention of the girls.
Yeah.
But the honest truth is, he hasn't figured anything out. Now you can imagine this visionless character, you know, who looks very pretty, very handsome, you know, and he falls for the girl falls for him. So in that season and in that space, the last thing that you need is a relationship.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine it will be a typical case of the blind leading the blind.
True.
You know, and people get into these relationships, it's all love bubble in the first couple of months, and then when reality begins to hit, everything starts crumbling, everything starts falling. And you know, these are the spaces, especially for the younger girls, these are the spaces where the young girls will be thinking, you know, I'm getting all the attention, you know, I'm pretty, I'm happening, and all of that. And that becomes a reason to then get into a relationship.
Yeah.
There are also other things like you're vulnerable. You're in this space where you don't really have the money.
Sure.
And then there's this guy who seems to be like, you know, a blesser of sorts.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
True.
So you find that makes you very vulnerable. In that state, you'd be thinking the relationship will sponsor my life. You understand what I mean? Pretty privilege. I'm pretty, so let me use my prettiness to gain some extra, you know. In the process, who knows, maybe the relationship can work out. 3/4 of those relationships end up crumbling. Why? Because as long as the foundation is shaky, as long as the foundation is uninformed, whatever it is that you are building, it's just a matter of time
If the
before
foundations
be
be
destroyed.
destroyed, what will the righteous do?
Exactly.
For me, I think beyond the financial muscle is like how visionary are they? You know,
How do you bring it out?
yes, by conversation, I think. You know, because I think like the example I gave of my husband, he did have all these things,